Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
Morning, Coach.
Thank you, Mark. I'll get started here.
Yes, sir.
Just a review of the game on Saturday. After watching the video, it's what we thought. We got out of it what we wanted to. I felt like in games like this where you've got much better players than the other team, like our Mercer game last year and like Western Carolina this year, you should dominate the game. And that's what we did. The defense didn't start like we wanted, but they were running some option, doing some different things, so it took them a little bit of time to get settled, and when they did, they played well throughout the game, only giving up 3 points for the game, and that's with a couple of key turnovers that could have led to easy scores. We did a much better job with sudden change of going out and stopping the team after a turnover. So I was really, really pleased with our defense throughout the game. Offensively, we scored on 6 of 7 possessions in the first half. The one was the fumble by Toe Groves, which we cannot have. But really, really proud of the guys that even before the half, we stopped them twice within the last 5 minutes and scored twice within the last 5 minutes on a 1-minute drill. So felt like all of that went really well. Defensively, we played well the second half. I was a little disappointed in the second offense that they didn't score, but 1 touchdown the second half. We had the turnovers with the quarterback hit and strip and run back for a touchdown and the interception. But I felt like that there were some individual players on offense that played well, but as a group, they didn't play as well as we would like for them to. Greg asked after the game, why didn't we run the same offense? But we did. There's just a lot of decisions that have to be made by quarterbacks, and sometimes it doesn't look the same because Sam's been out there a whole lot. So, but we tried to run exactly the same offense and when we got in there. Defensive player of the game was Kamen Rucker. He played really well. He was one of the leading tacklers, and the defensive coaches were very pleased with him. Offensive player of the game was Michael Carter. So a great way for him to finish at home with his touchdowns and long runs. And special teams player of the game was Daz Newsome, another senior that stepped up. Proud of him, especially with his punt returns, and he played well during the game as well. Mark Spears done a tremendous job at Western. We appreciate them making it work where we could have a game that the ACC asked us to play, and he did. His team was great with the COVID protocol. When they got back home after the game, they were all negative, so that worked really well in place of our Charlotte game. So it couldn't have worked better. So we appreciate Mark and his team and his staff for making this work when they have such a. We think we've got a unique fall with 10 games. They were only playing 3. So they had to work really, really hard, and those kids had to stay there to make this work, so we appreciate it. We did play 88 players. We only had 3 penalties, and a couple of those were actually turning in. But we felt like that it was a clean game and did a much better job overall and got what we needed out of the game. Miami. Manny Diaz has done a tremendous job with some key staff changes that have really worked well for Miami. They also have recruited well when you look at their roster, and he's done a brilliant job with transfers. I mean, they've got some of the best transfers in the country that have come in and made a huge impact for them, and we really haven't been able to do that at the same level they have. So their kicker, their punter, 2 of the best in the country, and they're both transfers, and the 2 defensive ends, maybe the best combination of defensive ends in the country, and Roche we tried to recruit. So they're just really, really good. They're big, they're physical. It's the best front 4 that we've played on defense. And then you talk about King, their quarterback, again, one of the best in the country, over 10,000 yards in his career in total offense. But De'Eric is a tremendous player and seems like just an outstanding leader as well as that. Mike Harley is one of the best receivers we faced. He's tall, he can fly, He's really good in space with the ball. They've got two of the best tight ends. So they're a much better team this year than they were last year. And you start looking at Roche. We knew how good he was because we saw him in our game with Temple. But Jalen Phillips is 6'5", 266, and those guys have combined for 28 tackles for loss and 10.5 sacks just by themselves. And then they're so good on third down. They blitz 57% of the time, but they're only giving up a conversion rate of 37%. So another opportunity for us against a top 10 team. It's unique that we'll play two top 10 teams, one top 5, one top 10 in the last 2 games or 3 games that we have this year. So it gives us an opportunity to continue to see how we measure against the best teams in the country. And I'm also proud of these guys that they've got another ABC primetime game at 3:30. I mean, people are looking at this program and recognizing that we're making progress. And we played, as I said, a good ball game on defense versus Notre Dame. We played a good half versus Notre Dame on offense. We still haven't put our best complete game together. Question marks?
Okay, guys, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. Our first question comes from Tim Reynolds. Tim, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Tim.
With Trevor and with Ian Book and, of course, with Sam and De'Eric, there's such depth of elite quarterbacks in this league right now. Do you recall a time when this conference, or really any conference, had this many guys who were just really, really good at that position?
Tim, I really don't remember this conference, but I wasn't around for a long time. But in my 10 years, it wasn't like this. I do remember a couple of years in the Big 12 where there were 5 or 7 elite quarterbacks in the country. But you look at 2 things right now. With the addition of Notre Dame this year, you would have to argue that our league may be the best league in the country. And to do that, you've got to have the top quarterback. So I think without question, these guys are good. I mean, De'Eric's, he is like Ian Book. He's hard to bring down. He's hard to tackle. He can throw it in the pocket, but you blitz him, you can't tackle him, and then he gets out of the pocket, he can run and throw and puts so much pressure on your secondary and your linebackers. Do you come up? Do you stay back? And I think that's one of the main reasons they're winning.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question comes from Greg Barnes.
Good morning, Mack. Along the same lines, when you were hired, you talked about wanting to put in an offense that was similar to what Oklahoma was doing with Lincoln Riley. This current offense is on pace to be rank as one of the top offenses in UNC football history. Is this kind of what you envisioned, and kind of where can this offense improve?
It is what I wanted. It is what I envisioned, and Phil Longo said we will take a tremendous jump, maybe a 10-point jump and 100 yards at least in our second year from the first year, and he's done that. They've delivered with what they've said. We also wanted to improve short yardage and goal line with touchdowns. We've done that. We also wanted to continue to protect the ball. We've done that. I think the 2 biggest things are, in my estimation, is we need to show that we can run the ball consistently against a great defense, like Miami has this weekend. And then when you do that, you protect better. And we didn't run the ball as many times against Florida State and Virginia as we have in some other games. I think we had 20-something carries, but we had a lot less production. And then when we do that, we've had more sacks. Some of those sacks have been we hold the ball too long. Some have been running back. Some have been tight end. Some have been offensive line. Everybody wants to blame the offensive line. But so I think that's the biggest thing that I see, is that we need to be able to keep our balance when somebody is saying, I'm going to stack the box so much, I'm not going to let you run the ball, then you've got to be able to still find some runs, but then you've got to be able to protect and throw the ball well enough to win the game if they do that. And in the losses we've had, we have not run the ball as well as in the others.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach. Last game of the regular season in your second year, and there's a lot on the line with this game, especially with the quality of the opponent you're playing. Is it too much to say that you can learn a ton about where the program is at this juncture based on how you guys prepare this week and what happened Saturday?
Andrew, I would say that, number one, every time we play, there's a tremendous amount on the line. But the game that gets talked about the most that we've played this year is Florida State, because that's one we lost that people thought we were going to win. The next game that gets talked about the most is Virginia, and then the third next one would be Notre Dame. So people talk about your losses. They talk about the things that you don't do well. That's who we are in modern day, and that's okay. That's just what it is. I think we know where we are. We're a team that's making tremendous progress. We're getting better in every area. The question is, are we ready to beat a top 10 team or not? I thought we might be against Notre Dame. We weren't. So Miami's playing as good as Notre Dame now. They've improved so much from last year. They've improved so much since their Clemson game. It doesn't even look like the same team. So they are deserving of a top 10 team in the country. In fact, I think you'd have to say that Manny Diaz should be in the discussion for Coach of the Year to show the progress that they've made since last year in every area. So I think the question is, are we ready to take the next step and beat a top 10 team, which I think we've done twice since I left here. So it hasn't been a regular occurrence. So I think we know who we are, we know where we are. The question is, are we ready to take the next step?
As you go through your regular routine getting prepared for a game, is there a part of you that kind of sits back and looks at this opportunity and you kind of realize how interesting the opportunity is for you guys? Are you maybe fascinated to see how your team may end up performing, preparing during the weekend, performing, just to get an even better idea where you guys are?
Yeah, there's no doubt I love these games. These games are a lot more fun than the ones you're supposed to win. Because the ones you're supposed to win, everybody expects you to win, and when you do, everybody says, they're supposed to beat them. So these are fun challenges. These are great opportunities for our program. In the early stages of our program to take a huge step in people's mind. Now, what I did learn here before and what I learned at Texas, if you beat Miami, then it's, well, you got to win all of them now. You can beat Miami, you can beat everybody. So it never goes away. I mean, it's always next and next and next and next. And the process in building a program or rebuilding a program is, first you got to win at home. And then people say, well, you can't win on the road. Then you got to win on the road. And then next they say you can't beat a top 25 team. Well, you got to do that. And then the next thing is they say, well, you can't beat a top 10 team. Yep. Well, then you got to do that. And then you got to win the championship, so you got to win all the games. And until you do that, people are never happy. And then I learned at Texas, as soon as you do that, then you got to do it again. And then you got to do it again. And then you got to do it again. So what you do is you try to do the best you can do with your team per week and not worry about all the other stuff that happens or the perception or where you are. You just want to do the best you can do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, let's move over to C.L. Brown, please.
Hi, Mack. Even during this pandemic, the road trips have been where a couple of the losses came. I was wondering what, if anything, you do differently based on those losses at Virginia and Florida State in preparation for Miami.
Yeah, CL, we've looked at that. The two road games we've lost have been night games. So the number one thing you do with the pandemic and your road games is stay safe. and we've been able to do that. I mean, we wear N95 mask. It's required. We wear it on the bus. When we're going to the airport, we wear it on the plane. You can't eat or drink on the plane or on the bus on the way to the airport. You have to hydrate before, and you have to hydrate when you get off. We're trying not to spend we thought maybe we spent too much time at the hotel at Florida State, so we're going later to Miami to try to get in late enough just to get there and go to bed for a 3:30 game the next day. But the most important thing is that you have to stay safe. That's what the pandemic's been about, and our medical staff and our trainers, they've really taken care of our guys, and our guys have been good with the guidelines. Other than that, we've looked at everything. Go play good. I mean, there are no excuses. I do think the people asked me the other day, is there a home field advantage without crowds? And I thought the home field advantage is the other team has to travel, and in a very uncomfortable travel time. So that would be the home field advantage. I loved playing our games at home this year and at noon, because the guys could get up, they could grab and go with their pregame meal, which is so unusual, go to the stadium and play. And then they had the rest of the day to spend time with their families. But the night games are longer. I'm glad this one's at 3:30.
And kind of expanding on that and probably knocking on wood here a bit, you guys have had a relatively, outside of the Charlotte game, of course, your season hasn't been chaotic or disrupted a lot because of COVID, coronavirus issues. When back in August, when everything was starting and being laid out for this season, did you envision that it could be like this, where you were figuring it'd be maybe more postponements or cancellations of games for you guys?
CL, I had absolutely no clue, like the rest of us. I do know the day that, and I've said this, the day that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceled, that's the only time I thought we wouldn't have a season, that day. And I, again, applaud so much the ACC, the chancellors, the presidents, the ADs, and John Swofford and the ACC office, because I do think we've had less issues, and the ACC has handled their season better than anybody else. And I see people trying to get to 6 games. I see people trying to get to 5 games. We're getting ready to play our 11th game, which is a miracle in this environment. And a credit goes to a lot of different people, including our staff and our kids. And I know could happen this week. I mean, I understand with this virus, any of us are susceptible to not having games at all. But I'm so excited that we've made it this far, and it looks like we'll get to play Miami this weekend, most likely, and then it looks like we'll have an opportunity to play in a bowl game. Now, I do think, from what I'm hearing for bowl games, it'll be like an away game. There won't be events, and you'll fly down, you'll spend the night, you'll play the game, and you'll come home. So I don't think it's going to be a bowl season. It will be a bowl game, and I hate that for the kids. But they've learned, like all of us, this is a year of change, and it's a year of differences, and we've just got to make the best out of it that we can make.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Ross Martin.
Hey, Matt, got a few for you here. What do you think has been the most improvement you've seen on the defensive side of the ball, maybe from the Wake Forest game to now, including the bye week in Notre Dame?
Ross, I don't think there's any question that what I've seen is the run defense in the front seven. We're playing better technique. We're playing with better leverage. We're stopping more runs. We stripped 3 balls on Saturday. We only got on 1. We've got to get on them now. We're not used to stripping them. So when they're on the ground, we've got to get the ball. So it's kind of like they said, if there's a whole lot of people around it, it's like the city ball. There's a lot of people there. You better jump on it. If it's a country ball and you're out there in the by yourself, pick it up and run it back. But we got to quit bending over and trying to pick them up. We got to fall on them. And we had those opportunities this week. And I also think the fact that we forced ourselves to playing a lot more people. We're fresher. We're not as tired during the game. And therefore we don't have as many lapses. We're playing better second quarters. And that's helped us some too. But if you can't run the ball consistently and you can't stop the run in college football, that hadn't changed. If you can't do those two things, you're probably not going to win consistently, and we're stopping the run much better now. The other thing that we've discussed is without spring practice, and I think this is important, we didn't get a lot of look at conventional runs for our defense, and we've got so many young guys there. We don't have a stretch play in our offense. We don't have the inside zone like we see as much. So this spring, we're going to have to create some plays to run against our defense that other people are running that we're not running, and especially with our second and our third offense, because our defensive players have to see conventional runs, and they don't see them with our offense. There's so many RPOs. So I think to be fair to Jay and our defensive staff and our defensive team, we're going to have to create a different set of plays that we may not run, but that we'll run in practice to go against our defense.
And what's the conversation like between you and Jay Bateman and the defensive staff on preparing for a running quarterback? Obviously, you've struggled in a couple games against that. I mean, what do you do differently? How do you kind of approach that heading into this weekend's game?
You know, everybody has trouble with a running quarterback because he's the extra guy. Even when Sam runs, he's usually out there by himself. We just don't want to run him as much as some other people do. And you can spy a guy like this. The problem is with Ian Book, you put a spy on him and the spy can't tackle him. I mean, it's usually not just the running quarterback. Virginia and Florida State hurt us using their quarterback as an extra runner. These guys hurt us, Ian and De'Eric, because they spread out so much and they're so athletic, you can't get them on the ground. And that's the problem. So we went into the Notre Dame game saying, let's keep him in the pocket. He's a shorter player. Don't let him get out of the pocket and be a guy, a scrambler. Yeah, you can't do it. I mean, that's the problem. You're there, but you can't tackle him, and you miss the tackle time and time again. And then I saw highlights this weekend where Syracuse missed the tackle time and time again. It just and that's what you see with Miami. De'Eric just makes play after play out of the pocket. Some people say, well, it's like they're playing in the backyard. It's Colt McCoy and Vince Young made so many yards getting out of the pocket and starting to go forward. If they back up, you run. If they come up, you throw it over their head. And Sam's done a good job with the same. So it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next question comes from Isaac Schad.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time today. I was curious if you have started to process the things that you would take away from this COVID season that might become permanent things. It seems like in every occupation, people are starting to realize, hey, here's some new things that are going to be long-term things that stay the same now. Have you started to process any of that from a football standpoint?
Isaac, we've talked about it some, but it's just kind of out there for all of us to look at like this. I mean, I haven't seen you guys all year. So can we still do our jobs this way? And we've made that work. I got a call the other day from Nike because each coach has to do a Nike clinic each year. It's going to be on Zoom this year. Instead of hopping on a plane and flying to Seattle or flying somewhere to do a clinic. Signing day where we always had a party afterwards with our top boosters and season ticket holders. We'll be doing Zoom this year with recruits. We'll be doing Zoom with our boosters. It'll be totally different than it's been in the past. And then you're looking at all the things with the 22 recruits. It didn't hurt us as much with COVID with the 21s because we had them here to games before COVID came. We had them on campus for basketball games before COVID came. And now the 22s, we haven't even met. So our coaches were talking the other day about, well, I'm not going to commit a guy till I meet him. I said, then you're not going to commit him because you can't meet him. So your meetings now have to be with you and his coach and his family on Zoom. So you're going to have to start making decisions that are different than they were. We always try to go visit some other staff that's doing things similar to us that we want to learn from. That'll have to be on Zoom this year. I was asked the other day to be one of the featured speakers at the American Football Coaches Association banquet or convention. That's going to be on Zoom this year. So I do think that so many things are different for us. They're getting more like the norm. And it's just like this. I mean, we've forgotten that we even had press conferences live. So is it easier for you all not to have to drive here? Is this something we'll do after the pandemic's over? Is it easier for you to cover 3 teams if some of you are having to cover other teams if you do it on Zoom? And all of us can try to make sure our press conferences are at different times so you can cover them. All of those things are just different. When will we be able to have a team meeting where we can go back to our team room? We haven't been in our team room since the middle of March. We haven't even been in there. We've been in the blue zone, and we're spread out, and we're all over the place. We're going to have our football banquet. We moved it back to the 20th. Because we want our guys to have a week off after Miami because they've worked so long and so hard. So, but we're going to have a banquet in sweats in the blue room or in the blue zone where we just sit and have a speaker come in, but it's only going to be the team, maybe the coaches and wives and one speaker, and that's it. So are these things that and we'll try to let the parents Zoom if that works, so they could be involved in the banquet but not be there. So I think all those things are type things that we've got to look at for the future, and what does this mean moving forward.
Sir. And then I was curious if you and Miss Sally are going to settle in to watch Jeopardy again today.
We will definitely watch Jeopardy tonight, without question. We're so proud of Catherine, and the players were sitting and talking yesterday with Coach Bateman. They said, she's a genius with those questions she answered. And I said, the only question I knew was Lambeau Field. And I called her last night and said, the players were talking about how smart you are, but they were surprised you missed Lambeau Field. And she said, I couldn't get my button to go. I knew Lambeau Field. But so it's been a fun experience for her.
That's great.
And I think even more so that Alex Trebek was such an icon for all of us growing up, and to work with him at the end of his life and the end of his career was a special treat for her as well. But I'm very proud of her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close out with Coach Brown today from Aaron Beard. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, Mack, I did want to follow up on the bowl question a little bit when you were talking about bowl season versus bowl game. Do you even address bowl implications with a game like this, with the fact that you guys could potentially improve your bowl standing, or do you just focus on the game at hand?
Aaron, what we try to do is every Sunday we address national issues with the players. Every day we address COVID to show them who's canceled and why, and Brigham Young is going to Coastal on a Thursday, and to show them how lucky they are, and that it's their responsibility to stay clean so they get to play, because that's not happening in a lot of different places. We do the same thing with bowl games. We've told them that here are the list of ACC bowl games when one cancels out. We've told them the Pinstripe Bowl will not be played this year. The Sun Bowl will not be played this year. Coach, do you think they're going to have enough bowls for us to go to? Yes. So plan on having bowl season. The bowls that we would go to will most likely be from these dates. So start thinking about that. That's why we changed our routine to after the Miami game. If a a player lives near Miami and his parents are there, and it's a lot less expensive for him to drive home with them, we're going to let him drive home with his parents and think that'd be safe. So we try to address all of that stuff, Aaron, on Sunday, and then get it out of the way and go play. And no question that the more games you win, the better opportunity, better options that are available for you with bowls. But the way I understand it, the ACC and the bowl will decide where each of us go at the right time.
Great. Coach, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you all. Have a great day.